The Texas Senate is approving a bill that would prevent red flag laws. A Republican senator presented the Anti-Red Flag Act. Red flag laws allow judges to order a person's guns to be removed if they're found to be a threat to themselves or others. Supporters say the bill is designed to ensure people's firearms are not taken away from them without due process. Senator Roland Gutierrez is pushing against that bill. He argues a red flag law could have prevented the Robb Elementary School shooting in Uvalde.
Texas Senate approves a bill to prevent the enforcement of red flag laws. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms, your NRS certification, multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. And if you like channel, like content, what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything's appreciated. Once again, the online store is open. And as I stated in a couple of videos before, I'm going to go ahead and do a push to move out the winter gear. So it's 20% off using codes CGB20. Get you 20% off and free shipping. Connecticut residents, you have to pay tax. I have no control over that. That's what happens when you live in a Democrat-run state. That's all they know how to do, tax and spend. But CGB20 gets you 20% off on hoodies and pullovers. Take advantage of that. Let's talk about this. Texas has approved a bill. It's SB 1362, which prevents any federal, state, local municipality from enforcing or pushing through any red flag laws in the state, which is a huge thing because as I've spoken about red flag laws quite extensively. They're not the only state that has actually made this move. There are other states who are also pushing the same kind of legislation to prevent red flag laws from being enforced. Now, before people jump up and go, well, what about dangerous situations? This does not cover court order seizures. This does not prevent them from doing it in a criminal case where they're investigating and remove the firearms. All it does is it prevents somebody from going to a judge saying this person's dangerous and having the police show up at your door, confiscate your firearms, and then you have to go to court after the fact, which is violation of the Fourth Amendment. Due process. You're not getting due process. That's what they're trying to prevent here. But let me go ahead and give you more details.
Just moments ago at the Texas Capitol, the Senate gave initial approval to a bill to prevent red flag laws.
Senate Bill 1362 by State Senator Brian Hughes would ban governmental entities from enforcing extreme risk protective orders or red flag laws unless the legislature passes such a law. KVU's Daniel Perot is live at the State Capitol for us this afternoon. And Daniel, there's been a lot of opposition from Democrats on the Senate floor there.
There was, Brian, and some of the most passionate argument against the bill came from State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who represents Uvalde. He talked about how a red flag law could have potentially prevented the mass shooting at Robb Elementary School. Red flag laws allow judges to order somebody's guns be taken away from them if they're found to be a threat to either themselves or others. State Senator Brian Hughes has dubbed his bill the Anti-Red Flag Act. He says that it is designed to make sure that a person's firearms are not taken away from them without due process. In addition to barring state or local governments from adopting or enforcing red flag policies, the bill also declares any federal extreme risk protective order law is unenforceable in Texas if it infringes on constitutional rights. It prohibits state and local entities from accepting federal funds that are intended for red flag law enforcement. Hughes says that this does not apply to family violence protection orders or cases where criminal charges are filed.
Texas law allows a law enforcement officer to take into custody someone who appears to be a danger, to take that person into custody. That's not affected by this bill, but this does affect constitutional rights that would otherwise be taken away without due process.
Democrats expressed several concerns during the floor debate, saying the bill would take away a tool for law enforcement to keep the community safe, for example, in cases when somebody makes a terroristic threat. Senator Jose Menendez says it is a balancing act, but this bill strikes the wrong balance.
This bill pushes the balance towards the person that would maintain a gun under any circumstances, even when local government, special authority, all these people who might have respect the Constitution would say we need to temporarily remove the firearm for the safety of the person and their loved ones.
But let me go ahead and give you more details coming in here. Texas Senate approves bill prohibiting red flag laws. The state of Texas is one step closer to prohibiting the enforcement of red flag laws across the state. March of 2025, they passed SB 1362, which bans the enforcement of red flag laws in municipalities statewide. The bill is called the Anti-Red Flag Act. Kind of makes sense, right? It bars lower levels of government from enforcing red flag laws unless a state level bill is passed, which prevents Houston, per se, of saying, we're going to have red flag laws in the city. They can't do it unless the state follows suit and passes their own red flag law bill. This is to prevent them basically from making patchwork out of the state when it comes to this issue. Whatever the state government says, the municipalities have to go along with it. They have no choice. We know what red flag laws are. They basically allow somebody to have guns removed if they deem that the person is a threat. The problem is that anyone can make an accusation against another person. That's where the issue lies with these red flag laws. I did a story on a woman who's going through some real serious stuff right in Connecticut. Because a neighbor saw her gun, she called the police and said she was in fear for her life. Now that woman is going through hell because a neighbor said she felt fearful because she saw her gun. That's it. She wasn't threatened by it. Nothing like that. Just she saw the gun. But Senator Brian Hughes introduced SB 1362 to protect Texas citizens' rights to due process, which is really just the foundation of this thing. There's no due process in red flag laws, but the legislation specifically defines red flag orders as those not issued on the basis of conduct that resulted in a criminal charge for the person who is subject to the order. SB 1362 categorically bars all governmental entities in Texas from recognizing or enforcing red flag laws unless specifically authorized by Texas law, just as I said before. This is applicable to the following individuals and agencies: all state governments, agencies, departments, commissions, bureaus, boards, offices, councils, and courts. Pretty much everybody. Governing bodies of municipalities, counties, and special districts. Like I said, Houston can't make up their own red flag laws. Officers and employers of local governments. SB 1362 additionally prohibits Texas entities from accepting federal funds intended for enforcing red flag laws in the state. If you remember, under Biden's watch, they had the Office of Gun Violence at the federal level, which was nothing more than a bribery scheme. Pass red flag laws, we'll give you money. That's all that was. This prevents them from, the municipalities, especially those liberal ones in the state, from taking that money. One of the most notable facets of SB 1362 is that it subjects individuals to felony charges if they enforce a red flag order against a person in Texas, unless the order was specifically issued under Texas law. Oh, that's beautiful. That will literally make a person think twice before going after their neighbor over some nonsense. But, quote, this bill deals with our Second Amendment rights, well known to people here and across Texas and the country, Hughes stated during a debate on the Senate floor. He characterized red flag laws as allowing a person's firearms to be taken away from them without due process of law, which of course it does. Senator Hughes stressed that the bill does not apply to family violence protection orders or cases where criminal charges have been filed. Very fair. But, as always, it passed along party lines. 20 Republicans voted in favor, 11 Democrats opposed, which they can't tell you why they're opposed to it. But as of the date of writing, this bill's out of the Senate, but it still needed to clear the House of Representatives. And apparently, the House bill, or the House version, has been stalled in committee, according to the Texas Gun Rights President Chris McNutt. The Senate's passage of this is a huge victory for gun owners while calling on supporters to pressure House Representatives to advance the companion bill. Now, and what's interesting, and I don't know why I'm pointing this out, but apparently Kyle Rittenhouse showed up and testified in support of the bill. Whatever, he's throwing out his little 2 cents there, but he says, I know firsthand the importance of self-defense and the weight that comes with exercising that right, but I also know how quickly false accusation and misinformation can be weaponized to destroy a person's life. I'm gonna agree with him there. Let's go ahead and come out of that. Now, I've had my opinion on red flag laws since day one. They started pushing them at this monumental level. I think they're unconstitutional. I think they're egregious, and some states, like Connecticut, have it in place where basically the scenario is you argue with your neighbor. Neighbor goes to the police and says, this person threatened me with no proof. Just says it. police come to your house. Under this Connecticut's red flag laws, they can just take your guns. They can just take them or force you to get rid of them. I've seen cases like this in situations where people are put in that position over minor things, but they escalate it. And I tell people when I give them the NRA certification class, which is required in Connecticut for a permit, I always say the same thing to them. I said, it takes you months to get this permit, but realize that this state will take it away from you in an instant if they can find any reason to do it. And it doesn't even have to be valid. So that's why I'm absolutely against red flag laws. If you got a legitimate complaint against another person, that's one thing. But anybody can make a complaint against anyone. That's why I have a problem with red flag laws. Texas is on the right path. And so, like I said, several other states are doing the same thing, in putting out laws that will prevent you from enforcing red flag laws unless you have a legit reason to do so. Which, once again, you got a legit reason, I got no problem with it. But making up things against other people just so you can hurt them, that I got a real problem with. And red flag laws, unfortunately, are a great mechanism to make a person's life very miserable. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I am going to see you on the next one. Peace.